Welcome, brothers and sisters, to Mormon Movie Reviews, where LDS movie lovers belong. My name is Steve A's, and today is September 28, 2022. This is episode 27, where we will be reviewing Meet the Mormons 2014 with a running time of 77 minutes. The Meet the Mormons movie, it examines the diverse lives of 6 members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, also known as Mormons. As an officially produced LDS film, director Blair Treu filmed this feature-length movie across many locations throughout the globe. Meet the Mormons takes viewers on a journey from the day-to-day realities of individuals living in the United States, Costa Rica, Nepal, and beyond. From their individual passions to their daily struggles, each LDS story paints a picture as rich and unique as the next, while challenging the stereotypes that surround the Mormon faith. Now, we've just been examining the official trailer, and as you can see, it's a movie that concentrates much more on stories than it does on theology. This is hardly an expose. It's a movie about faith and people, and not a movie about doctrines and controversies. This is not the first time that the church took a crack at meeting the Mormons. In fact, they produced a little-known film back under the auspices of Harold B. Lee called Meet the Mormons in 1973. And I just want to play you a little clip of this because you're going to see that there's obviously a big difference between this and the version that we just saw.
It's important now that
The primary organization was created to build faith in the lives of children under 12. Meeting once a week, the children are instructed by dedicated teachers who teach little ones such virtues as honesty, obedience, and love, in addition to church doctrine.
So this 1973 version, it's not centered on necessarily people. It is much more informational. Now, in the 2014 Meet the Mormons movie, the church basically turned the 2010 I'm a Mormon campaign into a feature-length film. So the I'm a Mormon campaign ran from 2010 until 2018. The church probably paid millions of dollars in advertising. There was advertisements on Times Square and all over the place, and they ran a lot of these little vignettes here, like this 3-minute one that we're going to see here. The 2014 Meet the Mormons movie is basically like the I Am a Mormon campaign, but taken to a feature-length film.
The things I've learned through the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I'm a marathon runner, I'm a father, and a husband. My name is Tim Hurst, and I'm a Mormon.
So that's what you're going to see in the Meet the Mormons film is basically these little vignettes, but just blown up a little bit longer. They made a website to advertise the movie, and you can see the various stories in particular that we're going to be discussing here a little bit. The humanitarian, the coach, the fighter, the bishop, the mom, and the candy bomber. If you look at viewing locations, it's a little bit interesting because the URL you have requested cannot be found, and most of the comments and things that are in this particular section here, they have not been updated in years, but they did bring in some news stories called New Faces and New Stories, which we're going to watch in a moment. Now, you can purchase this feature-length movie for $2. It's still available for sale, and one reason that it is so cheap to buy is the fact that this is off of the church's main webpage here. You can download this movie for free at home anytime you want for streaming or for any other purposes. They want to make it accessible, and so they put it in all of the visitor centers and historic sites of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It's a documentary style movie designed to dispel common misconceptions people have about Mormons. And it made its debut back in December of 2014 in 400 theaters across the United States in October of 2014. So that's the idea behind what the church says that the purpose of the film was. Now, I do have to laugh a little bit because it says that it's designed to dispel common misconceptions, and I really do not think that the film does that. If you go to Wikipedia and you look at Mormon cinema and you rank order all of the so-called Mormon films from gross earnings from the smallest amount to the largest amount, you're going to see that Meet the Mormons had grossed almost $6 million at the box office, which doesn't sound like a lot when you compare it to the Marvel movies and Avatar. But when you compare it to other films within the Mormon cinematic genre, it stands alone. It stands on top. Meet the Mormons is #1 at almost 6 million earnings. Unlike most of the other films here, we do not know the budget for Meet the Mormons. I personally believe that the church did not pay the actors. So I would estimate based on that you would have a budget of, say, $500,000. This is one of the rare movies in which the actors actually paid the filmmakers, because all the feature profiles are from active members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints who are presumably paying a full tithing. They literally paid to be in this movie. Now, the director that brought us this feature film is Blair Treu. He directed David Archuleta's music video Glorious, which goes along with this particular film. He's known for Chicken Soup for the Soul, Wish Upon a Star, and a few other things. He did a couple of podcasts where he discussed the film, and I can link to those in the show notes. There's 6 profiles that we see in here. The first one is from Ken Numatolo, the head coach of the U.S. Naval Academy. And as the football head coach of the Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland, Ken balances the pressures of his high-stress job by putting his family and faith first. In the competitive, high-stakes world of college football, he made the shocking decision to cancel staff meetings on Sunday, traditionally seen as critical to the team's success, instead to honor the Sabbath day. So that's our first vignette that we get to see. Our second vignette is from Colonel Gail Halverson. Now, he is best known as the Berlin Candy Bomber, or also known as Uncle Wiggly Wings. And he gained fame for dropping candy to German children during the Berlin airlift from 1948 to 1949. And that's his wife. He just passed away just this year, but he's a celebrated war hero. Our next vignette that we'll see in the movie is from Dawn Armstrong. Dawn Armstrong is a struggling single mother who had hit rock bottom in Arkansas and lost all hope. And she met with some Mormon missionaries who helped her and her son get back on her feet, start a new life. Her son is now older and ready to fulfill his 2-year voluntary missionary work. And as she helps him prepare to leave home for the first time ever, she also prepares to say goodbye to him. Our next vignette that we'll see is called The Bishop. He is an academic counselor and bishop in Atlanta, Georgia. He works full-time as an academic counselor to 200 students in order to support his wife and 3 children. He also volunteers full-time as a bishop of a Mormon church in Atlanta, Georgia. He leads a very diverse congregation with youthful exuberance while shattering stereotypes of what it means to be a Mormon bishop. Our next vignette is from Carolina Munoz Marin.
For me, being a mom is a dream come true.
And she's an amateur kickboxer from Costa Rica who runs a charity with her husband. Now, with her husband's help, extreme sports enthusiast Carolina Marin has fought her way to the top of women's amateur kickboxing in Costa Rica, challenging the traditional stereotypes of Mormon women. In between family time and training for competitions, Carolina and her husband run a charity to help those in Costa Rica who are less fortunate than themselves. Our 6th and final one is Vishnu Adhikari.
Vishnu, I live in Kathmandu with my family.
Now, he is from Nepal. After leaving his village to receive a degree in engineering, Vishnu returned to his home in Nepal with a newfound faith and a determination to improve the living conditions of the area. Now, Vishnu now travels to remote villages in the Himalayan mountains to build roads, schools, and water systems, all while living with his faith and respecting his culture and his family's expectations. Now, this was an officially produced church video. And here's one of the church leaders here, Elder Holland, who's going to discuss some of the reasoning and purposes behind the film. And I think that what he says about the film is very instructive.
Because this is a new approach, some of our members are still uncertain about what to make of this film. Now, to clarify a few things. One, this is a real movie and will be in movie theaters that we frequent in our neighborhoods. People will be able to purchase tickets as they would for any other feature film. Two, this is a church-produced product commissioned by the First Presidency. 3, Meet the Mormons is an entertaining, uplifting, and inspiring film. It was not produced as a proselytizing effort. Missionaries will not be in or near theaters. The film is meant to inform and show people what we're really like. 4, the church is not making any money on this venture. Net proceeds from the film will go to charity, specifically the American Red Cross. We simply want as many people as possible to see this film.
If your first bullet point for your movie is that, hey, everybody, I just want to let you know this is a real movie, that is probably not off to the best start. Now, all of the donations from the ticket sales went to the Red Cross, which for me is a little strange. Is it a tacit admission that the church is not really like other charities? Why not say, hey, come and see our movie and we will use your donation, the proceeds, for the following purposes? I don't know, feeding the hungry, visiting the sick and afflicted, and clothing the naked. Why not say that? Probably because church leaders know that because the church is not transparent with the finances, And the Red Cross is, people are more comfortable with Red Cross donations than with LDS church donations, which for me is a very sad admission. The headliner for this particular movie was David Archuleta, who sang the title track on it, Glorious, from the movie Meet the Mormons. Now, I'm not going to be able to play much of this or I'm going to get a big copyright strike. So the 6 original stories were updated a couple years after the release in 2016. Here's some of the new stories that we get to see.
Now, the same creative team that brought you the original has produced all new stories that will be playing exclusively at the Legacy Theater on Temple Square in Salt Lake City and other visitor centers beginning July 16th, 2016. Stories like The Entertainers from Tokyo, Japan, The Horseman from Morgan, Utah, and The Artist from Pacheco, Italy will entertain and inspire you just like the original.
These are in the visitor center. So if somebody comes back to a visitor center and they saw it in 2014, they don't want them to see the same film twice. So they updated it so they'd be able to see something new. Church on their official website has put this particular movie up in full on YouTube, and it's been up there for quite some time. And let's take a look at a couple of the top comments here and see if what we can learn from those top comments. I love it. Perfect was his plan of salvation for all of us. Candy Dropper, Anthony's life, and Nepal life moved my faith higher to higher ground. I love this movie. Thank you. Truly awesome. This is a great movie. Very inspirational. Very wonderful. I'm proud to be a Mormon. So you can see that the YouTube comments are rather effusive. And also, I think what is interesting is the amount of languages that the church translated this movie into, 28 or 29 different languages. Now, one of the reasons I think that the church has fallen out of favor or perhaps has been de-emphasized, even though it is still up on the church's site, it's not heavily promoted. If you go to the I'm a Mormon section of the church's website and try to click on one of these links here, if you click on that, page not found. Oops. You click on here, same thing, page not found. And one of the reasons is because President Nelson's de-emphasis of the word Mormon and instead an emphasis on calling people members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. But if you look at the Rotten Tomatoes here, this is one of the most amazing things that I've ever seen. Your tomato meter here is at 18%, where your audience score is at 89%. This is the biggest gap that I have ever seen between a tomato meter and an audience score. Now remember, the tomato meter, it represents the percentage of professional critics that are positive for a film. So only 18% of critics gave this a positive review. The audience score, it represents the percentage of verified users who have rated a movie or TV show positively. I am speculating that this is not only the largest gap that I have ever seen in a movie, but this could be the largest gap in Rotten Tomato history. And that is really saying something about the polarization of this film. Now, somebody on Reddit put together a comparison of Rotten Tomato critics versus the audience score. So along the bottom here, you'll see the critic score. So the more you are to the right here, the better your movie is. And up here, this would be the audience score. So the best films of all time would be in this top right-hand corner, 100% critic and 100% on audience score. So that's why you're seeing, I don't know, Avengers Endgame's Frozen 2, those type of movies. And the absolute worst movies would be these ones down here. But what is interesting here is we need to follow where this movie fits. We're at about an 18% critic score, but we're at 90% audience rating. And you can see right here, the rarefied air that we are in here is incredible. This movie really stands alone. There is no other movie like this that has ever been produced that has such a divide. I think what best explains the 70+% difference between critics and audience scores is that while Meet the Press was marketed as a mainstream movie for so-called non-members, it actually was mostly watched by faithful members of the church. Members of other faiths or people without religion altogether are understandably very unwilling to pay for and watch a 90-minute propaganda infomercial, which does not get into any of the juicy nuggets of Mormon secrets, theology, or history. This is from Barbara Vanderberg from the Arizona Republic. Would you go out of your way to see an infomercial that was more than an hour long? Would you even pay for the privilege? That's what Meet the Mormons would have filmgoers do. This is from John Fink here. Nothing more than a slick-looking TV ad where its placement behind the paywall of your local AMC. Regal or Cinemark seems rather silly. And it's interesting that he says TV ad because this is really an outcropping of the 2010 Meet the Mormons TV ads. The Meet the Mormons movie in and of itself has a relentless positive narrative. Everyone is so happy in the movie. All of the Mormons are. It really reminds me of the church's Homefront campaign way back in the 70s before the I'm a Mormon campaign. But it's kind of like the Homefront campaign on steroids. Because what is the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints best known for? Polygamy, not drinking coffee and alcohol, missionaries, and secret temple stuff. And most of the uniquely Mormon aspects of this faith don't make it in the movie. Far from clearing up preconceptions, it just shows that Latter-day Saints are living good lives and could be your next door neighbors. There's no LGBTQ, there's no same-sex marriage, there's no blacks in the priesthood. No one's children in this movie are leaving the church. No one is doubting church leaders or their faith. There's no one who gets divorced. Women don't ask for the priesthood. There's no problems with church history. And the biggest omission in the film to me is that it doesn't mention Joseph Smith at all. Okay? Everyone fits the tried and true LDS cisgender heterosexual mold. So Meet the Mormons 2014 is basically an updated version of the church's 1964 Man's Search for Happiness, melded with the 1973 Meet the Mormons, but with all the theology and history stripped away, and in its place is a slick propaganda piece which reinforces an LDS echo chamber. I hope you've enjoyed this review. Please drop a like, please drop a subscription, leave a comment. Our next film review is going to be on the life of Nephi. Thanks for joining me. So long.